one. Speed. I saw that. I don't know where it was, but heavyweights. I think it was. Where it's like three,
What was
two,
that?
one, speed, and then he was like Ben Stiller was like, "Does speed mean go?" He was like, "I don't know."
There you go. Activate the speed.
I always wanted to do that, so I just got my chance. Show over. Lifelong
Nice.
dream from watching
Let's do the
heavyweights.
let's do the cutoff early. Holiday special. Everyone go home.
Holiday special, 4 seconds, and we're good.
Happy
This is
Happy
peak.
New Year, by the way.
I was gonna say, man, I feel like it's been so long since I saw you. I haven't seen you since last year.
That was about a year ago, man.
Oh man, it's a whole new dance. About a year ago.
Definitely a dad. It definitely hits different when you're actually a dad.
Dad jokes are just so much more funnier to me now than they were ever before. And even like the more annoying, the better. So
Yeah.
that's always good. But how you doing,
When
man?
you're younger, it's sarcasm. When you're older, it's a dad joke.
Oh yeah, no, it just kind of layers
Life
up.
comes at you fast.
It's more pointed.
Well, everyone, welcome back to the OVP, the podcast where we take an idea from nothing to something. We're trying to get and we're trying to get funding is the main goal. We're trying to get this off the ground, make it tangible, and we show you all the steps along the way. Roger, I feel like we just turned the corner on the mid-season episode,
Oh man,
episode 6.
yeah.
So I want to do a level set. Can we explain
Oh
what the hell C-Task is and what it does?
yeah, C task. I think the way we're thinking about it is, we were sitting on the couch post dinner clarity, and everyone
Yeah.
falling asleep,
There was a
and
South Park
we're
episode
like,
on.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And we're just like, hey man, like, what's a problem, And then I think that we circled around to, do it yourself projects, like start them, you never finish them. And I think some of the research we did kind of like plays into that fact, like. A lot of people start stuff, never finish it, and then we're like, "Hey, how can we solve that problem?" Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
We were
and
both test subjects.
yeah, exactly. We were like, hey man, we'd use this. So I think that that's kind of like the genesis of it. And really kind of like built it out from that. Like, what could it look like? What would it need? What are the features it would need? The reminders, maybe the tasks that we would have on there, and how would we power it? Oh man, let's
You
just
got to
put
throw
AI
AI in
behind
there.
our name. Yeah, and we're good.
Yeah.
Like
Our
funded.
website was almost .ai because I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
what's harder than that?
No, yeah, you just slap AI behind anything. But I think to be fair, there was a component of that where we're excited to try. Like, okay, cool. Like we were gonna like start a project from scratch. How do we incorporate AI along the way? And I think that was kind of like more not as like I mean the topic was fun, but also the fun for me was looking like how can we incorporate AI? It built our logo, which we use on our Spotify, right?
Right.
Yeah, it
All
helped with
AI generated.
yeah, all AI generated. It helped with even like I think the last episode we did, we talked about how we both kind of pictured the MVP or the prototype that we made using AI and stuff. So just not even just slapping AI behind, agent behind the power of the site itself or the platform itself, but building it as well. And I think that in this process, I have definitely learned or had to stretch to learn the different AI tools that are possible for people like us to use everything from, building copy to your marketing to your research to your images to your, app itself that we use an app, we used, one that an AI platform that builds an app for you, and as no coders, that was the exciting part to me. I was like, oh, this is fun.
Has has a non as a non-expert in this field, I kind of want to say that it feels like the AI boom is over and all that's being done right now is being refined, being improved.
Mm.
Because literally any step of this process that we've had, if we bump into a wall of like we don't a skill gap or something, like we found there's an AI platform that will fill in that gap for us.
Yeah. And, and
That's where
and
we're at right now.
I think that we're to the point of where like, and I think it was Sundar Pichai, like CEO of Google, that was kind of talking about it recently that I saw. But basically, he was like, "Hey, like the low hanging fruit is there, like so." To your point, I don't think we're at the inflection point of where like it's saturated or anything, but I think we are at a point where like, hey, like right now we got here really fast, bro. We've been talking about
Yeah,
we layman like people that are laymen, not in the industry, they've been talking about AI since the 80s, building it, but the air like where me and you would hear about it. We've only heard about it for the past year and a half, 2 years. So we got to zero to me from a layman not in the industry looking at it, 0 to 100 very quickly, year and a half, 2 years, right? So to your
right.
point,
We
it's Sundar's point.
in this season we already have we you've already discovered an app that can build other apps.
Yep. Oh, dude, after
That's
those apps. Hey,
what's our gap? Oh,
hey, hey, we're
we're not
done.
developers. Yeah. I wonder if there's an app for that. There is.
there is an app for everything like that. And those things are in turn powering a lot of other things, you know. And I think that's kind of the like, you know, circling to how we started, you know, to this conversation is like that was a super exciting part to me. This is like, hey man, there's personal training apps. If you don't have a personal trainer, I still have the app on my phone. It's called like Best Friend or something. It like you can like AI talks to you and you make a relationship with them. I keep on trying to get them to admit crimes, but they won't. And like, it's one of those, I call it, hey, it was like Snapchat. It's like a poop app, right? Like you're sitting on, you know, you're doing your business.
Yeah.
You're chatting with a friend and say, hey, go rob that bank. And they're just like, no, I don't want to rob the bank. And I'm like, "Fine." You know, and then you run out of credits and now I'm done with
Which
this.
is a big improvement because other AIs want you to commit suicide.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, no,
those are
exactly.
the headlines.
So that's the thing, like finding like different, like to your point, finding different use cases you can do. This one was just like, hey, like how do we build a company with it? How do we start? And I think we have for a good first strike, you know, I think we've done pretty damn good job of that so far, you know?
Do you remember that movie Her?
Oh, dude, yeah, I loved it. Yeah, it's Joaquin Phoenix. I'm a big
Supposedly,
Joaquin Phoenix fan.
yeah, same. Supposedly it was set in the year 2025. So
Oh,
here
bro,
we are.
did you, we're gonna turn this into just like me and you talk about like current events, which I'm
Yeah.
also really what was that Sex Robots by 2025 thing? Did you see that? Where like
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's time. We
yeah,
we've
it's
we've put a hole in the robots. It's time to go.
well, yeah, no, oh dude, they've been trying to do that. But no, there was like it was like this, I don't know if it was a spoof article or not, but it was basically like 2025 was the year that women are gonna have more sex with robots than men, you know? Did you see that one?
No, I did not. But that is a startling stat and one
Yeah.
that we have not fact checked yet. So do not
No, no, no,
do
not at
not
all. No.
don't tell your friends yet. It's just a rumor. Rumor alert. Rumor alert.
Oh, it was like a futurologist like sex prediction.
Oh,
Uh
there you go.
basically, you know, like they were gonna, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't look it up further than the meme, but I just thought it was funny. It was like all over Twitter for like a couple of days, like, oh, we're in 2025, watch out.
I mean, just because the idea has been put out there, it will happen at some point in history. We're just lagging a little bit. The same way the sociologist said that Spanish will be the predominant language of the United States here,
Basically, right.
shortly.
Yeah,
It's
it
gonna
was
happen.
so
Maybe
I
around the
found
same
it.
time.
Hold on, just because I was looking for it. So basically, can you see my screen?
Now I can.
Okay, this is like Daily Mail, but like, you know, it was like an
Right.
old post, I guess. 2025 resurfaces from 2016 about the prediction that like they would be having more sex with robots. And it was like the comments were just,
Can't wait.
we are ready. Imagine you're a robot. Can't wait.
Yeah,
Any update on this? Asking for a
that's
friend, you know,
tough.
like, oh dude.
That's tough. Your girlfriend leaves you for a robot, and then you use AI to generate solutions to bring her back.
Yeah. Brainstorm,
Twist,
give me
it's the
10
same robot.
variations. Give me
Yeah,
10 variations of how I get my girl back.
there you go.
Uh,
That's that's the funny part of AI. There's like the joke would be like, forget about, your astrology sign. Like, are you someone who just asks ChatGPT for one answer, or do you say give me 10 variations? Like, do you
oh,
want to know
dude.
all the different routes?
Variations for sure.
Well, speaking of variations and different routes, go-to-market strategy. There's a lot of different routes and a lot of different variations for that and how that can look. Basically, another vocabulary lesson. The go-to-market strategy is the different channels you use to get your product in front of your target audience. There's B2B, there's B2C, which is mean business to business or business to customer. A lot of businesses have both channels. A lot just focus on one. For one channel might be super secret, something behind the scenes that you don't see. Others it might be more out there. What can you tell us about go-to-market strategies?
Yeah, so go-to-market strategy, I think you kind of like laid it out pretty well there in terms of like the different variations. And to your point, you have kind of two different ways to think about it. And honestly, three different ways. You know, people say, hey, there's B2B, B2C, and I can share kind of like a quick screen of what that means. But
Do it.
basically, you know, B2B to B2C. Can you see my screen, by the way?
Yeah, I see it.
You know, some people think it's you know, people think it's self-explanatory, some people don't. I like to just cover the bases first and say, hey, like, let's level set everyone. B2B, business to business, right? B2C, business to consumer, right? There's a third here, one here to me. It's kind of a blended B2B, B2C model, and I'll kind of go what I mean by that. I didn't add it to here, I didn't think about it.
Thanks for not calling it a third leg.
Yeah, they're like a tripod. But
Yeah.
B2B, you're thinking about, and this is kind of like why you have to think about this in the beginning to your point of like thinking about when, like what to, are you seeing my slides by the way, or my,
Yeah, I see
okay,
all the slides.
cool. Got it. Yeah, perfect. That's fine. But this, because when you think about how you're going to target audience, that's going to affect your go-to-market. So you got to know, like, hey, and you don't want to do too much, right? You don't want to say, hey, I'm gonna start off B2B and B2C, because then you're not going to do anything, right? But basically B2B business, B2C business consumer we talked about, and target audience is going to be other businesses. But this is also going to change like how your purchase decision, right? And I didn't. I had to put emotional versus rational, but that wasn't really important to me. The important part was the purchase decision because that's what it comes down to. That's important. You
I
have
like
multiple
that.
stakeholders in the B2B, but for B2C, that's me and you, bro. If I'm gonna buy, a best friend app, I'm not gonna like get a group consensus with my organization. I'm gonna just pay my 99 cents or whatever and buy it, right? So that's kind of the
Right.
difference of like the purchase decision. Again, like your sales cycle, because of that, it's going to be longer. B2B is just a longer sales cycle, right? You're looking at 2 weeks plus, easily 6 months sometimes, depending on what you're trying to sell. Whereas a B2C, hey, I'm making that decision on the poop, right? Like I'm pooping right now. I'm gonna log in and I'm gonna make this 99 cent decision, right? The other one, the big one here was the marketing channels because that does go to your go-to-market, email, LinkedIn. B2B channels, bro. LinkedIn is where it's at if you're going business to business, dude. Trade shows, sales team. Whereas B2C, maybe you're on some of those social platforms like TikTok. You're TikToking, you're doing a freaking thing where you do this
You
thing
got 1 month
and then
left
your
on that
back hurts
TikToking.
after because you did it wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You're doing that. You're doing online ad and you're doing influencers, right? You're getting kind of like that referral stuff there. So that's kind of the way to think about it. And also, I kind of teased the third one that I didn't put in here. It's kind of a blended B2B, B2C. And what do I mean by that? So, if you're a mom and pop cupcake shop, you're B2B technically, but you don't have some abstract stakeholder purchasing department. It's you.
You're wearing different hats. You're
Yeah,
the
it's
CEO. You're also the person, Johnny on the street.
exactly. You're shooting the shots, you're calling the plays, you're running the plays, you're doing it all. So even though you are B2B, you are kind of B2C. So there's a third kind of blended field here that I always think about, especially when I work for those companies. It's because you got to have that mindset because you're going to have to talk to them in a third way, right? And knowing, to your point, knowing what that even that first kind of like as a business, what you're going to go after is going to dictate your go-to-market strategy. And I'll stop there and see if you have any questions because I know I talked a lot.
Yeah, no, keep it up. Keep it up. Keep the screen up, please. That was a good slide. This
Sure.
reminds me, and then another thing that everyone has to remember is how you reminded me earlier in the podcast about psychographics and how you're going to approach these marketing channels and these different um, buyers differently based on their psychology. Like you
Yeah,
said, mom and pop CEO is way different from the buyer for a big company.
and
Two
I
different profiles.
exactly, and I didn't want to get too nerdy about it because man, I can get nerdy, bro. Like I'm shoot, you know what I'm saying? I got this. Can you see my other screen with personas?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so when you really want to get nerdy, bro, this is where you
Do it.
start. This should be the start of any go-to-market strategy because when you think about a go-to-market strategy, you need to have this first before anything else. You got to identify your target audience there. And how do you do that? You do that by thinking like them, right? You do that, man. I put a slide together for class for this. This is secret sauce here, bro. This is my class that people got to pay for. So let me try to find out one.
You're getting
So
this for free, guys.
yeah, you're getting this for free. You don't have to pay for anything. But anyways, personas, right? I was doing this for class. I'll just put it here. It's, when you think about it, it's a realistic research-based representation of your target customer, that's designed to look deeper, right? And what I like to think about it here at the bottom, like a good persona includes the who, the what, and the why. Who are they? Demographics. That should be your base level information, age, gender, income, etc. But also next is the what. What are they doing? They're purchasing online. What brands do they like? What are the usage patterns online? Where do they spend their time? And the why. That's the most important to me. But you have to answer the who, the what to get to the why, because the why is that psychographics. Like, what are their core value, beliefs, interests, hobbies? And what do you do with all of that? You put it together in basically a persona like this and you cross-reference it with other data, survey data, testimonials, like if you can interview people, friends that have that problem that you think align with that, interview them. Reviews are a good way to figure out, like, whether it's on Google or Amazon, where you can go to get them. But what you get is a picture, and this is like I kind of said, this isn't gonna be necessarily a for A. Like it's a realistic. It doesn't have to be exact, but it has to get you started. And then you cross-reference that persona you built with the things you learn after you make that hypothesis. Because this right here is gonna dictate your go-to-market strategy that you're gonna see later. Target audience. In a go-to-market strategy, you have a few steps there, but you have to do that persona work first to get to be able to answer all these questions. Don't assume you know. You have to kind of start somewhere and work your way up. So that's my nerd out of the day.
Awesome run through. No, love it. I mean, you're the resident marketer here, so if there's anyone to trust on that, it's you. Um, yeah, like the psychographics of your customer, knowing your customer, knowing how to sell to them, knowing what their triggers are, their why, as you said. I just saw a video about how Duolingo is like
Oh,
super strict on A/B testing.
oh,
They're going to
dude.
roll out different advertisements to different people unknowingly, and they see different returns with different strategies, and so they start milking one strategy more than the other. But they always stay open to the A/B testing to always to see what's making people tick, what's making them tick more. And they even said like, yeah, we know what we could run to get more subscribers right now for our premium deluxe plan, but we don't want to dry the well too soon. So there's a lot of strategy behind everything that you're doing, and you shouldn't just put your foot on the gas unless you know where you're going.
Exactly, exactly. And there's a good book about that. I don't know if you can still see my screen, but basically it's not this one. It was a different one, but basically that's called growth hacking, and that's exactly what they're doing is they're running A/B tests against each other to then say this one or this variation or this change that I made is increasing my activation, increasing my retention, increasing my monetization, increasing my onboarding. Like they're running those A/B tests and they're testing every little variable that they can and looking for stat sig signal to then say that change increased or decreased the thing that I wanted to go for. So that's and Duolingo is one of the best to do that growth hacking kind of playbook. I think we talked about that in our episode one, but yeah, that's exactly what they're doing there because they know their target audience, so they know kind of like what to test against each other. So I love when they do stuff like that.
Yep. Okay. Next, let's see. We covered B2B, B2C, strategic partnerships. That's a big foot in the door for a lot of companies. A lot of companies you might realize their lucky break or their 1% luck that pushed them over the edge was a strategic partnership. Um, there's a lot of people who know somebody. I mean, you were talking about the power of LinkedIn, hitting people up directly.
Mhm.
I mean, that could be considered a strategic partnership.
Yeah, no, and I think that however you kind of get that strategic partnership is up to you. You can get it in, you can get it in above the board means, but you can also get it by being like kind of scrappy with it, one of the early things that Airbnb did with Craigslist was basically they kind of like the engineers at Airbnb figured out a way to post the Airbnb ad in the Craigslist ad, like in the early days. So that helped. If you're on Craigslist, you don't know who Airbnb is, but if you're on Craigslist and you see kind of like that Airbnb link or link to your Airbnb stay, then it gives you that much more audience for that thing. So that was kind of like a fun thing. So like I said, there's and it wasn't necessarily illegal at the time. It was just a loophole, right? So I think that you have a scrappy team, you have to think about that. Let me think about the partnerships that I can go to. Classic example of that would be Nike and a Foot Locker. That's a big strategic partnership that expands their footprint around. They get a sweetheart deal on the shoes or whatever. So that's kind of like an above the board one, but there are other means that you could do to get that strategic partnership to give you that visibility that maybe other people will frown upon. But hey, if it gets you more eyes and you can capture that and turn it into, it's kind of like a forgiveness versus permission type thing when you get to that type of level, right?
Going back to our Shark Tank geek out, a lot of those companies, when they finally reveal with their sales, we've in the last 6 months we did,
Yep.
5.5 million. Everyone freaks out, and then later on, oh, we have a strategic partnership with Whole Foods.
Well, then it makes
We have
sense.
a we have like we have a distribution deal with whoever. So those superpowers that you can unlock by, like you said, being scrappy, connecting the dots, finding where um the benefits of your product are really going to help out someone else, and in turn, they amplify your message and are able to expose you to more potential buyers.
Nope, that's true. I think that it can also be a double-edged sword for that too. Like in like a case of like Celsius, you know that energy drink Celsius, right? Like
Yeah,
it's everywhere. All the kids are on it, all the youths and stuff.
I
I don't
see it
want to take.
everywhere. I haven't had it yet, but I see it
Yeah, I
everywhere.
see it. Same. I see it everywhere. It's always like a cute, like like dude or chick, and they're like, "Oh, drinking this Celsius is gonna give me energy
Yeah,
in the gym." I'm like, "Okay, bro, whatever." But basically, there was an issue. Like one of their I think it was actually this last quarter or quarter before this that they reported earnings, and it shot. It's been, I think it's down probably, I don't know, 70% over 2024. And one of the big reasons for that was Pepsi. Pepsi was their biggest distributor, and they like Pepsi just ordered too much Celsius, so they stopped ordering Celsius and they pulled back on how much they're going to order in the future for the foreseeable future, and the stock just because their revenue went down. Because when you depend on a partnership for the majority of your sales or revenue, and
right.
that partner doesn't, I mean, they have their own decisions to make. So they just said, hey, we have too much, we're not going to order as much. And when that's your biggest client, that's when the bad side of that is when you see them pull back and your revenue is going to tank because of that. So it's great to have a partnership. It's important, but also you got to think about those other channels that you're going to do to make up for that because when you have that type of strategic partnership, you're at the whim of that partner. You know what I'm saying?
It's almost like strategically what you want to do is either once you land that big fish, just take care and cater to that relationship to make sure they're always good and always in because you don't want them to just drop out, or get other strategic partners who are just the same level as big and try to diversify your risk portfolio so that if someone Pepsi drops out, hey, maybe you still got someone else in your corner.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly the point. There's this article I'll just pull up real quick. Celsius, like they, expect to put in 100 to 120 million dollars fewer orders for Celsius, so that was one of their biggest distributors. When stuff like that happens, like you just gotta, like you said, you gotta diversify, right? At some point to kind of like foresee that coming. So,
Yeah.
something to watch out for. The strategic
And
partnership is good, but also can be bad too. So,
so can you put the list back up of all the steps in the go-to-market
oh
strategy?
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Because a lot of these decisions and how you're going to base what you're going to do really comes from ROI. Because all these things are going to take time, either sweat equity, real equity. They're going to take some kind of expense to do and to execute, and you're going to decide based on the ROI which strategies, which roads you take.
No, exactly. And I think for that, and I think you teed up really well. Think about B2B, B2C, and also kind of like that third blend of B2B, B2C. I guess. But those are all going to dictate the change of your go-to-market strategy, right? Because the first thing you're going to find for any kind of like anything you do, and this is where the majority of companies and all the ones that fail, I would say, they miss this first step, which is product market fit. And I think that's what we're trying to find with CTask is like, does this product have a market? Are people, do they have this problem, right? And does
Yeah.
our solution fit that problem, right? That's the first thing. It's like the opposite of like I love Field of Dreams, man. I love that movie growing up. If you build it, they will come. That's BS, bro. They will not come even if you build the best anything. You have to
They is like four people.
you exactly. So you gotta have that product market fit. You gotta have something there to go for, right? And the next thing is you look at that target audience. But because you've done the work, because you've done your personas and you've done your interviews, and you look at the data that you either have or acquire or find, you know your target audience. And then you look at your competition. Who's in the space doing what you're doing? I guarantee you, not 99% of the things we're going to come up with is not going to be novel, right? It's going to be novel to us. It's going to be new to us, but there's a competitor in that sphere. You got to look them up. And you got to see what the demand is, right? And then you think about, yes, those strategic partnerships. Okay, I'm at level zero. Who can I partner with? And a strategic partnership can be, man, it can be an influence. It doesn't have to be the Pepsi distributor. It doesn't have to be, all the big apples. It can be a strategic partnership. It could be your friends. It could be like whoever you're gonna help is gonna help you grow can be considered a strategic partner. You can look at different platforms like the ones that what are the ones like that people can like give you money and Kickstarter and stuff like that. That
Yeah.
can be a strategic partnership too. Get a bunch of demand that way to help you build your brand and build your list. And then once you have all those things figured out, now because you know your target audience, you know what your product is. You know your niche you're going to fill. You know who your people are. You know who your competition is. So you know where they're spending their revenue dollars, right? Where they're spending their advertising budgets, right? Then you know your strategic partnerships. Now you can think about your distribution and channels. Now you can think about, hey, maybe I need to go on LinkedIn. Maybe I need to go to Reddit. And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier in the week. It was like, hey, man, if the show is the business, then what is our go-to-market strategy? It's then that made me change my whole thought about how we distribute this. We gotta be in the trenches. We gotta be in Reddit. We gotta be on the community building. Like that's where we need to go. So even that one kind of text that you sent back to me, I was like, oh shit, that changes everything, you know. And that's kind of what I talk about when I talk about distribution and channels. Where are you gonna go to reach the people that you need and that you want and that you want to help? And that's gonna see your value, you know.
Awesome. Yeah, no, Field of Dreams, great movie, horrible go-to-market
Oh, dude,
strategy.
horrible business idea.
And I think there's four words in this thing: go to market strategy, right? And the most important word is strategy. If if I'm in the NFL, I love football. It's my number one sport. If
Yeah.
I'm in football, I have an amazing offense or amazing defense. I'm not using the same offense and defense for every single team I'm playing. If
Nah,
I'm just that much better than everybody, go for it.
you got some
But
studs.
yeah, right. If I'm just better, if I'm 99 across the board on Madden with all my players, Hall of Fame team, yeah, play whatever you want to play. You do not have to battle plan or strategize for anybody. But week to week, you see variations in the plan based on who they're playing. If your goal, and this is always like the first hole that people fall in, first time entrepreneurs, they just believe in their product so much, which you should. You should be confident
Oh,
about your
for
product.
sure.
But they believe in it so much they think it's for everybody. And so now that go-to-market strategy is literally everybody. There's
Too
no
much.
focus. You can't direct a strategy to just one person, one persona. You're just selling to everybody. And when you sell to everybody, you're taking too much time to figure out what's the pathway to that sale versus identifying a group. Like for us with CTask, this is a personal project manager. Anyone can use a personal project manager to keep them on task, to keep them going, to make sure that they finish, whatever goals they set out to finish. But we realize like, hey, you know what? The people who are motivated to do this might be motivated because of money.
Hmm.
So let's start there. Who's using a lot of money for little, kind of projects? People in a DIY, home situation, people, homeowners who are just trying to fix a fence
Yep.
or, patch a leak or change a hole in the drywall, like so we narrowed it down. So when we go to pitch our go-to-market strategy, it's gonna be focused and directed versus someone who's like, oh, this product is for everybody, from someone, hiking a mountain to somebody, planning a trip. That is just too widespread. And the irony is that, our goal, our future vision for future verticals is we do have other things
Oh yeah.
that CTAS can do because it's really built for everything. But we have to start somewhere. We have to focus. We want to make sure there's an ROI. We want to make sure there's a return. I think if we save somebody a few bucks on building a fence or patching a fence, that's a more motivated buyer than, a bunch of the other stuff that sounds good on paper, but is not going to give us the ROI we need.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think you said it perfectly in that sense, you know. And that's kind of the fun part of doing this journey, kind of figuring that out as you go, you know, as well.
Okay, so once you have the personas down, once you're in front of somebody, you know your go-to-market strategy. Let's talk about the marketing funnel.
Okay, yeah. So
There's different steps to that. The first one's awareness. Where do you want to start?
I mean, I think awareness is probably the best place to start because it's what everyone's gonna need. No, you if you don't have awareness, you don't have everything else, you know. So,
Yeah.
when you think about the funnel, you have different, awareness, activation, onboarding. There's actually like this one, I was actually looking this up.
Yeah, when I see the model, there's like a 4-step one, there's a 7-step one, there's a million-step one, because
There's
there's a
a
lot of micro, transactions or micro things that can happen in between each step.
Yeah, and I guess it's about how deep you want to nerd out about it, but I think probably this
Sure.
one is the one that it's actually a good one. Sticks out to me. I like this one because it's easy to remember because it's called like the R framework, you know.
There you go.
And
Pirate ship.
this is a little bit deeper than like like so I think this funnel is actually a little bit it's probably the most It has the most steps that I've seen, but I think that some of these can be combined, but I think this does a really good job. And I think this does a good job. I mean, it says and I think it's fair. It's talking about kind of like your and I didn't pull this up for growth hacking, but I definitely am gonna use this in my class. But anyways,
Yeah.
like, this is a good one. But basically, traditional marketing, you're in the awareness and activation. What does that mean? I'm getting people to know who I am, first of all. Like, I'm gonna put my ads on LinkedIn. I'm gonna put them on Twitter. I'm putting my ads somewhere so people are aware who I am. And then they also marketers generally have the acquisition as well. So I'm getting that awareness and I'm turning it into something, an email capture, a sign up, something like that, right? I'm getting something from them. They see me, they know who I am, and they gave me their email, right? And they're kind of like customers now. And then you look at the activation. Now this is really important, and activation onboarding are the same thing. Anytime you go to Duolingo and they ask you, like, you go to Duolingo, like, we can think about it like that, awareness. Hey, Ed saw a Duolingo ad on Facebook. He clicked on it. Cool, that's awareness. Acquisition. I gave them my email. I started an account. Acquisition, right? You activate it. Activation. Hey, they're now Ed's in Duolingo and they're giving him an onboarding flow. They're asking him what his language he wants to use. They're asking him his preference for, the language that he's going to be learning. They're asking him what his familiarity is with that language. That's activating you. They're asking you questions to get you to start using Duolingo and make it personalized to you. Retention is like, okay, in a week, we saw that he hasn't used Duolingo since he first got on. Retention, I'm gonna send him an email to say, hey, remember Duolingo? And Duolingo does the best job of this. If you ever stop using it, that bird shows up like, hey, bro, where you been, dog? Hey, man, hey,
So many memes, so
cuckoo,
many
I ain't
memes.
seen you in a
The
while.
the report I saw on Duolingo said that their most effective one was when you stop using Duolingo for a while,
Oh, dude.
it sends you that final message like, "Hey, well, apparently these aren't working, so we're just
Yeah,
gonna leave you alone for a little bit." And
yeah.
apparently that one
Classic.
text is the most
Classic.
powerful, like
Get in their
retention, like
face,
bring them
dude.
back.
Get in
It
their
brings them back.
face. Get in there.
The
Yeah,
guilt trip
exactly.
from
And it
the
works.
green owl.
So that's retention, revenue. I'm getting you to pay me now, right? We're trying to get that money. You talked about revenue models. I'm getting you to revenue, but you're not going to get to this R revenue without first acquiring them. So that's where you think of the funnel, right? And then referral. Hey, Ed told Roger about Duolingo. Your referrals are going to be your best customers, your best leads and best customers because they're cheap. It costs you $0, right? Or close to $0 for a referral. And because Ed referred me, I already have that like social proof, oh, he's using it, it's good, So that's when you think about the funnel. And I think this does a good job of saying, hey, this is where marketing usually is. But when you're a CEO, so as we're building these businesses and as our users are building these businesses, you're not a marketer at that point. You're a growth hacker because marketers have the advantage of looking at these first two steps usually. As a growth hacker, as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, as a cupcake business owner, you're thinking about this whole funnel. You're a growth hacker, yeah, and a CEO, and that's just part of the business there.
Love it, man. Uh,
Arr! But
I
anyway,
know, super super easy to remember. Three A's, three
I
R's.
love it.
So let's put it in context of CTAS before we get cut off here. So CTAS, our B2B channel would be okay. So this is a project manager that you can roll out for any big projects within your organization.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what makes sense for them. Uh, Business to customer, B2C. Okay, this is for, DIYers at home. You want to save money on doing a project instead of, you know, uh, calling a pro or someone down the street, joining on the spot. You figure it out, and you can use it figure it out with AI telling you the steps and with hyperlinks for where to buy the materials and all this and that. And then, it nudges you along the way until you're done. Um, our strategic partnerships would probably be, either I think with suppliers. So you're patching up
Mm.
that drywall. Maybe there's a link right there. Hey, we can have this delivered from Home Depot in the next hour. Or you know, people who purchase through Home Depot through our app get a 15% off a Home Depot purchase.
Sure.
So there's different partnerships that can be there. Or you're halfway through trying to reshingle your roof and you're like, you know what? I'm way over my head. There's a buy now button. And
I know
our
what I'm doing.
strategic partnership with TaskRabbit sends a pro over to finish the job for you. So that's just kind of in a nutshell what it would look like for us. What seasoning do you have to add to that dish?
I think the part that I'm like really excited to figure out is how do we build that go to market for that? Like I think that that's going to be fun to kind of figure out like what are the channels? Because as you're saying that, I'm like, man, like then how do we attack it? Like how do we get people to even get that first R, the ah, the ah,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
get
yeah.
that awareness? Like
Let's
how
get
do
it in
we
front of them.
like where do we go? And one of the ways is to just good old fashioned stand outside of Home Depots and give out business cards to the app.
Yeah,
We got to give them something. We give them something. Maybe it's I don't know what it is. It's a free ebook, a free, it's probably going to be like we can look up the five. I mean, I think we've already kind of done it. The five most common, tasks that DIY thing. That's what we added, right? I think we have like cutting the
yeah,
grass, painting, plumbing, and then we make ebooks for that. Like comprehensive, good ebooks. I'm talking like
yeah.
not some bullshit, like some good stuff that they want, and then we give them that. Like hey, like here's oh you're doing plumbing. Okay, cool. Here's our card. Like we have a really good thing for that. They're gonna have to give us an email address, right? And I think that's a good way to go. It's gonna be very manual, but then again, man, you pay some of those dudes that are standing outside $200, and be like, hey man, pass these out as you see them, or maybe I don't
There you
know.
go. Hey, you're marketing now. What do
We
you,
give
what do
them
you?
shirts, bro. We give them shirts.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's just, hey, or hey, come here, bro. Like, get this shirt, dog. It's free. And we do that kind of guerrilla style marketing. One of my favorite marketing gigs, or not schemes, things was like Red Bull. And basically, it was Gary Vee was talking about it. I have a really good book by him. It's like Day Trading Attention. I haven't read it yet, but I think it's good. But anyways, he was talking about Red Bull, and he was like, "Hey, like one thing that Red Bull did, because Red Bull was actually a company already, I think in Thailand. Some guy, some American went over there, whatever, said, "Hey, I love this concept." He bought it, marketed it, brought it back to the United States. And one way that he built brand identity and like almost like a FOMO of that product is he would just put empty cans of Red Bull outside of convenience stores that had Red Bull, like mass cans of nothing
Beautiful.
full, and people were like, "Oh shit, nigga, some of this Red Bull." So like
Yeah.
things like that exist. So I think that might be an interesting way that we do it here is just getting in the people because we know that they're all going to meet at this place because Home Depot and Lowe's are the DIY capitals of the world, right? So we figure out how to be in front of there and beat with the people, and then they kind of see us organically. Oh yeah, actually, it's a task thing, Oh, cool, like I'm doing these tasks, I got their
Yeah.
ebook, blah blah blah, got the email, and then we email them. We build community rapport with them that way. So I think that the awareness part is the thing that excites me. It's like, man, how do we even start? And I think that's
There's a lot of different ways to get attention, and that's the fun part. Again, I mean, we can shoot in the dark, we can strategize, but at the end of the day, like all of it is just gain experience because we don't know yet how to make this connection between our audience and our product, and we're just gonna figure it out. You gave me a great podcast recommendation, and the guys were talking about owning your audience and not having to go through like a middleman.
mm,
And so the power to that was in newsletters
new email
and getting
newsletters,
people's
man.
emails, going old school. Like that's a one-to-one. If I send a message, bam, 8,000 of my people know what's going on from me, not from, YouTube giving me a censor or an algorithm. It's going straight to their ears.
As someone who's worked with many marketing company or many companies, many marketing roles that's been charged of email before, people think that email is dead. Even in companies I work for, they think it's dead. But when you look at it, it can be one of the most effective ways to build a community, reach your audience. Because when you're paying, Google and you're paying, LinkedIn, you're paying X, Y, and Z to get those leads, you're spending a lot of money to get those eyeballs. Once you get those eyeballs, you need to figure out a way to get them back. And owning your community, owning your list is a great way to do that. You just gotta give them something. You gotta give them a little bit to get some. You have to give value to get value is the way I look at it. But as long as
Yeah.
you're providing quality value, that's something that people see. I love newsletters. I sign up for a bunch of newsletters, but only ones that I want, and I get tons. Like I probably have probably 10 newsletters that I try to read a day sometimes, mostly for market news. But I've curated the ones that give me the most value and bang for my buck. So that I would know when I do those things, I'm getting, the meditation I need. I'm getting some running tips. I'm getting the good stuff. So I think there's a lot of value in that still in good email content, not crap, good email content.
And we spend so much time getting customers that if you look further down on that funnel, retaining them is so
Oh, dude,
important.
retention.
And a newsletter is just this for loyalty.
It's cheaper to keep her. Is I think George Washington said that when he was crossing the Delaware.